Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In the next 10 minutes, I'll be giving you all the info you need for Luocha rerun guide. I'll be talking about his best relic, Lightcones, team comp, rotations, pros and cons, and if you should build him, you can sit back and relax. Please leave a like and subscribe, it helps a ton. Here are his required materials and skill priority. For an overview of his kit, he has the imaginary element and comes from the path of abundance. Luocha is a 2-in-1 unit, which heals, remove debuffs, and with hyperspeed he becomes a SP generator monster. You don't have to max out his skills, level 8 for talent and skill is more than enough. For his Eidolons, E1 while Luocha field is active, increase attack for all allies by 20%. High uptime buff of 3.6% plus DPS boost. E2 Luocha now provides shielding lasting 2 turns and extra healing output. E4 during Luocha's field, enemies deal 12% less damage. E6 when ultimate is used, there is a 100% fixed chance to reduce all enemies all-type res by 20% for 2 turns. Both E4 and E6 are debuffs. For his best price to performance ratio, E0 ideal. His Eidolons and signature LC is not worth pulling at all. How to build Luocha. For the body, you want outgoing healing boost. Attack body is not recommended unless you have god tier speed stats for hyperspeed Luocha. And for the boots, you want speed only. Now for the substat priority. Speed till 134, 156, or 160. 147 speed is at a weird spot due to his field. Attack percent till a total of 2.5k to 3k total attack. Effect res and lastly both HP and defense percent. Healing output from 3k to 3.5k attack is only a mere 11.4% difference. This is what his ideal stats should be like. If you are going for 134 speed, aiming for higher attack is fine. For 100% effect res is optional if you never want a debuff on Luocha, though not worth the effort. For triple S tier stats it's not possible to go above 50% effect res anymore. Make sure to hit at least 800 defense at minimum with 4k HP for Luocha survivability. For slow versus hyperspeed Luocha, there is no wrong or right answer. They're literally both equal. 134 speed is easy to build where players can opt for more attack percent for higher healing output against Sam, though not necessary at all. Hyperspeed offers way more skill points for SP hungry units like IL or QQ and has slightly better healing output from his skill refresh, which is ideal for Sparkle or Bronya where units don't use their basic attacks. Players should take note that it's not worth it to farm for Luocha's relic at all and should be based on your luck to build slow or hyperspeed Luocha. Players should focus on the perfect relics for their DPS units instead. Onto his relic set. You can run any 2+2 set. I even recommend players to go for rainbow sets as substat is more important. 2-piece messenger for the 6.06 speed bonus. 4-piece attack bonus will even do fine as it does increase his healing output, which players can focus more on SPD substats instead. Wandering Cloud is decent, but it isn't a set you would want to farm for as you need both speed and attack substat from it. Furthermore, 4-piece Wandering Cloud is useless even with Imbibitor Lune as we have Sparkle already, and with hyperspeed Luocha the 4-piece bonus is a huge waste. And now for the planar ornament. Main stat. For the rope energy region, I do not recommend attack percent even with energy region Lightcones, as with 3k attack there is nothing that Luocha can't handle. And for the orb, go for attack percent preferably or HP percent if you have triple S tier substat with attack percent. Luocha has 2 planar ornament sets that he can use. You want to run either Fleet of the Ageless or Broken Keel. Both are easy to build on Luocha as he will have high speed, and for Broken Keel hitting 30% effect res should not be a problem. Overall either sets have little to no difference where it's more towards which can benefit your DPS. Space Station is decent but only if you have triple S tier substats to hit hyperspeed Luocha. If not, there wouldn't be a point using it. Do not go for Vonwhack as it's useless since Luocha is already a monster at SP region. Players should farm for whichever relic set is more universal for their account. Now for his Lightcones. At last place, it's both Shared Feeling and Hey, over there at S5. Why last place? Both Lightcones are trash as it doesn't work with his auto skill. For Shared Feeling, the energy region does not help Luocha with his ulti uptime. It may help some DPS units, but the main issue is that Luocha will be basic attacking most of the time. At 4th place, it's S5 Multiplication, easy to build for hyperspeed Luocha. With this LC you only need 148 speed to hit 160 speed with Luocha. But you can expect 2.5k attack at max on Luocha due to the extremely low stats. Main downside is that if Luocha uses his skill it wouldn't be a 100% uptime speed buff anymore. With a well-built Luocha, this LC will be useless. At third place, it's both Quid Pro Quo and Bailu LC. Pretty R-ing but works extremely well with hyperspeed Luocha for 16 to 32 energy for allies, which does help your team. Bailu LC is pretty decent due to the high base stats and 100% uptime buff. Overall both Lightcones are decent options. At second place it's perfect timing. Easy 30% effect res requirement for broken keel. 100% uptime, and it's way easier to hit 100% effect res on Luocha for players who got lucky with their rolls. At first place, it's both post-op conversation and Luocha Sig LC. Natasha's LC at S1 is sufficient but relies on RNG to get hit on the first, third and fifth cycle. S4 would be the breakpoint to be on par with Luocha's signature LC. Main upside with Sig LC is that players will have an easier time building Luocha. The 12 speed gain only lasts for one turn where it's useless in most scenarios. Here are the calculations for Luocha healing output. Honestly, his signature LC is trash and players should pull for Ruan Mei or Huo E1 instead for better value and performance. Players should slap on post-op even at S1. And now for his team comp, rotations. If you have Ruan Mei or Silverwolf you don't need Luocha anymore, as there's no need to remove debuffs on enemies when they're dead. Honestly, there's nothing much to talk about. His best team would be with Imbibed or Lune or any skill point heavy units. Other units will do fine too but not the best output. You also want him to run with units that can perform attacks for higher survivability. If not, you want hyperspeed Luocha to offset this downside. For Luocha pros and cons. Pros. Low S tier. Universal. 2-in-1 unit, removes buffs on enemy plus healer. Highest SP region sustain. Easy to build, with little to no effort. Autoplay friendly, with auto heal and cleanse. Cons. Not anti-one shot, needs hyperspeed to pop off with SP gain. No team benefit, worst limited 5-star sustain and the worst sustain to have for an end game account. Luocha has 0 value if you have Ruan Mei to break enemies. Silverwolf to one-shot bosses or Sparkle to generate SP. So should you build Luocha? If you have either Ruan Mei, Silverwolf or Sparkle? Definitely not. If you have no limited 5-star sustain? No, as other limited 5-star sustain are way better. If you don't have 2 healers or if you like his design? No, as pulling for him over other units will push your account back and ruin the game experience. Overall I don't see a point pulling for him as with an F2 PTL 65 account. Players will have decent support units to easily kill enemy bosses with buffed attacks. For his ranking I would give him a 7.9 out of 10 even without any team benefit from him. After all, a sustain unit job is to make sure your team stays alive. Luocha mains may hate me for this, but for a limited 5-star unit his 3 out of 10. Where even building Gallagher would be the wiser option to save your pull for a better sustain unit in future. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Overall Luocha is not a bad unit but is the worst limited 5-star sustain unit. Where it's like pulling for Jingliu over Kafka or Acheron. Even if Luocha mains, argue that he's the best sustain against Sam. I would argue that even with a decent build on Fuxuan or Jeopard they are both good enough to last 5 cycles against Sam before anyone dies. And that's it for this guide.